When you create, they're gonna hate. I just made that up.
I like
Isn't that? I mean, the wisdom. Oh, wait, I'm going to laugh. I have to get my ladies fan out. How is this podcast free? I'm just coining new terms over here. When you create, they're going to hate. Look, there's something very powerful about creation of any kind, whether it is creating a family, bringing children into the world, or creating a business, or even creating a painting. And especially if your creation is doing well, your painting is really, it's getting featured in art galleries, or your children are really thriving, that people don't like that, because it's the closest experience of God, I think, in some ways, of when you are creating in the way you are meant to create, out of a spirit of love. Because, I mean, what is God? He's the creator. Like, that's his whole thing, is, creating. And so to be able to do that, to bring something new into the world with a spirit of love, it's really a very powerful thing, and it's a very human thing. It's something that animals can't do. It's like, only the creatures made in the image and likeness of God can do. And so for the people who aren't doing it, they're just going to sit around and hate. So let me show you this screenshot. So I posted a picture after Milwaukee. It's kind of funny because I told you guys in the last episode that I struggled in that show just a little bit. So I said, it was fun, and it was fun. It was a great show. So I just said, that screen is really far away from me, Caitlin. What does it say? What did I say?
You said great week of shows. Philly, Richmond, Virginia Beach, Denver, you're up next.
And then what is this clown who replied? What did he say?
He says, thanks for the warning. We know now to stay away.
Yeah, that's nice. Literally, I just said, great week of shows. Here's where I'm going next. And this guy has to hate. He has to hate on it. And what's funny, I replied and I was like, yeah, my tour promos are just warnings. When I said you're up next, that was a threat. That was a threat. I'm bringing my comedy to you guys, whether you want it or not. In fact, next week it starts. My devious plans start next week. Philadelphia on April 1st, Richmond April 2nd, Virginia Beach April 3rd, filming a special in Denver on April 9th. Plano, April 22nd, Tyler, Texas, April 23rd, Columbus, Ohio, May 7th, and New York City filming another special on May 10th on the Upper West Side. Yeah, it's all a threat. I'm coming your way. But that's the thing. Anytime you put yourself out there, there's going to be people who hate because you're doing something that matters. And if they're not doing it, it's going to cause them quite a bit of internal. Well, I mean, eternal too, but an internal pain. In the last episode, and we're going to talk about it again today, I was talking about nervous system dysregulation. This guy, his nervous system is dysregulated. Put it up again. What he said, thanks for the warning. Read that again.
We know now to stay away.
Yeah, we know now to stay away. He needs to journal speak. He needs to do journal speak. Nicole Sachs, by the way, but it's been too long since I've mentioned Nicole Sachs. Like, I think we've had 40 minutes of podcast time where I haven't mentioned her. Her new book is out and I just finished it and it is incredible. I listened to the audiobook, but it's in every other format. It's called Mind Your Body by Nicole Sachs, Sachs. And I'd like to send it to that man. He needs it because he needs to journal speak about the ways in which he is not creating in his own life. And it is causing him to be tortured by it. So much so that he would just say something rude to some rando. I don't even know this guy. And that's the most innocuous statement. Just, hey, I'm coming to your city. And my comedy is clean. I don't do politics. I'm just what is there to hate about my comedy? But that's the thing is when, there's this saying that the worst thing that can happen to a person is meeting the person they could have become. Yeah. And I'm not saying that everything about my career is this man's dream. There are ups and downs. But I do think that if people just see you're creating and you're not going to stop. You know what's interesting? I think you actually get more hate, whether it's from the public or bitter family members or neighbors or whatever. I think you actually get more hate if you have had some setbacks and didn't stop, because that really bothers the people who did stop, who did let the setbacks get a hold of them in whatever they were trying to do, and they hate you for it. They hate you for it because you take away their excuses. They have been soothing their nervous systems. I'm never going to shut up about it. I'm just not. I'm not. Until every single one of you send me a certified letter with a notarized statement that says that you have read Nicole Sachs' book, Mind Your Body, then I'm just going to talk about nervous system dysregulation all the time. In order to soothe their nervous systems, people stuck in resistance have told themselves a story that they couldn't do that creation that they were meant to do. Again, it could be creation, like creating a family, or it doesn't have to be something like business or career, but they've told themselves a story about why they were blocked by fate, why this obstacle was insurmountable. And if they see you glide over the obstacle, or in my case, stumble over it, fall, spill your drink, end up with a cut and a splinter that you're now complaining about, but you got over it. You are over the obstacle. They hate you because now their nervous system is dysregulated again, because they've been telling themselves a story that these obstacles were insurmountable, and your life is a testament to the fact that they actually weren't. They weren't insurmountable. And so that's why the haters will come out of the woodwork when you put yourself out there. And again, we could be talking about something that has nothing to do with social media. It could be an aunt making a comment, or your sister-in-law just taking little digs at like, I see that you're getting the oil paints back out again. I mean, some of us prioritize motherhood, but that's, I mean, if you don't care at all about your children, I mean, that's your choice, isn't it? Maybe it's for the best that I don't have like siblings in law, that maybe that's for the best. But, people will take little digs at you, whether it's people you know or people you don't know. And a lot of you guys are worried about that. You're worried that even if they don't directly insult you, like a lot of you guys are worried about putting yourselves out there because you might be cringe. People might think you're cringe. But the thing is, there's no way to avoid being cringe, because either you put yourself out there, and especially when you first start, it's kind of a disaster, but you learn from it and you get better, and that's cringe. But if you never put yourself out there, that's also cringe. It's cringe to never try. So you can't avoid it. I mean, you're going to be cringe one way or another. But a lot of you guys worry about that. You worry about like, but what are people going to think of me, and I shouldn't even try. And I just want to give you a little pep talk, and you might not even need it right this minute. Maybe today you're not thinking about firing up that old hobby or finding out what your blue flame is or starting a business or whatever, but you might need it at some point in the future when you're thinking about going for it, but you're really worried, like what if the haters come out of the woodwork? And I am here to give you a pep talk for that, as someone who has inexplicably no shortage of haters. And we can't figure out why. I mean, truly, like, why would I ever have haters? So we will go into that. As usual, that is the main topic. I set it up at the beginning of the show, and then we go deep on it in the latter half of the show. And then before then, we go into some of our intro topics. And boy, do we have a real grab bag today. This is the Jen Fulwiler Show. New episodes every Wednesday morning. This podcast is available on video on YouTube and also in all the audio formats. Apple Podcast, Spotify. There's a great little app called Overcast. I love that app for listening to podcasts. So wherever you like to listen to audio podcasts, it is there too. You can find where I'm going to be on tour at jfcomedytour.com. And this is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That's being a hot girl boss, or hot boy boss, who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. We are coming to you from Austin, Texas. And I put a lot of time and effort into my Patreon, where you can get some great content where I go deeper and I get a little more personal on some of these podcasts, on some of the topics that we talk about on the podcast. And I occasionally do lives where I just really, talk about my latest disaster and what I really think of it and all that. And all of those archives are available. You get instant access right now when you join the Patreon. If you would like some amusement, it's better than a Netflix special. Honestly, this can be your new TV series that you get into. Join my Patreon at any level, and then look up the State of the Dumpster Fire series. Those were a lot of fun. My kids running around in the background, Caitlin's kids running around the background. You can see my face when it was much worse than it is now. Although I still have my delicate ladies fan, because it's still a little bit uneven. We are hoping that by the April 9th comedy special filming in Denver, it will be completely better. Keeping our fingers crossed for that. So patreon.com/thisisjen is where you get instant access to all of that stuff. Patreon.com/thisisjen. And you know what, Caitlin? We have not played the tour jingle in forever. Let's play that.
She was dropped by her agent and manager on the same day. Iconic. Now she's entered her villain era, and she's back on tour anyway. Jen Fulwiler. News gonna drop. Jen Fulwiler. She just can't be stopped. Jen Fulwiler. The tour is gonna pop. Takes at jfcomedytour.com. jfcomedytour.com.
Okay, let's begin with this. This is a story that I told in the episode we had to delete in January because of the face fiasco. I told you we had an episode in the can. It was all recorded, and we just never published it. So I am 99% sure this topic was on there, and you guys have not heard it before. Caitlin, just tackle me if it turns out this was actually in one of the published episodes, but I don't think it was. Do you remember what was in that episode? We deleted. Okay. All right. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't think you guys have heard this. This is where I was in the airport, and there were some podcast bros being real jerks about a mom with a crying baby. You guys haven't heard that one, right? No. Okay, good. I can feel your psychic vibes across the time space continuum. Okay, so I was in an airport, and there were two guys. I call them podcast bros because of the t-shirt that one of them was wearing. It was a t-shirt for a podcast that's a very podcast bro-y podcast. They had big muscles, like lots of time spent in the gym. They were talking about Bitcoin. I mean, like walking stereotypes. This is also in the Austin airport. So, that's not totally going against type there. And then, I also saw at one point they pulled up Spotify. I was being very nosy, guys. I was like looking at their Spotify playlist, and it was, listen, I'd bet my minivan on the fact that these guys take ice baths. Like, there's no way they do not take ice baths. They are so that type. So they had all the trappings of alpha man, red pilled man. Like, at the very minimum, they think Andrew Tate has some good ideas. Like, at the very, maybe they're not his biggest fans, but like they definitely are like, oh, I'm listening, say more. So that is their vibe. Lots of kind of I am masculine behavior, like in their conversation, like very, and I know this type from a lot of the male Austin comedians are are in this zone, and I don't dislike them. I get them. I like them, but I know the type, and they are very into being masculine. Like, we are masculine men, and we are really the height of masculinity. And that is why I think they were into this particular podcast. Like, a lot of those guys are into that, the one from the t-shirt. And I think they might have actually come to Austin for like the comedy tourism, going to Mothership and all of that. Nothing wrong with Mothership. Nothing. I'm the biggest fan. Would not mind at all having some stage time there. So not in any way criticizing Joe Rogan's Comedy Mothership or any of their patrons. I just think that they need to have more comedians named Jen Fulwiler on their stage. That is my only criticism of the Mothership. So they were also scrolling Instagram. Our flight was delayed, so they were also scrolling Instagram. I mean, I was bored. Like, I'm just looking at their phones. I mean, just doing. I was very interested in their little culture, so I got to know them pretty well through my eavesdropping. Now, across from us, there was a woman who had 2 kids. One was 4, and one was probably like 6 months old. There was a baby, and then a 4-year-old. This woman was traveling alone, and she was clearly very flustered. And she was about probably 10, 12 feet away from us in the gate area. And it was a pretty crowded gate area. And the baby started crying and like screaming. And at first the mom was kind of trying to soothe the baby, but then she kind of wasn't addressing it. She not as much. I mean, she was a little bit, but she wasn't completely flipping out about it. And I did find it a little surprising that she wasn't doing some of the things that I would think you might try. But I also think she probably got to that point where she was frazzled and exhausted and was like, I've tried whatever. So I really wasn't judging her for that. But I think to people who don't know anything about motherhood, it could seem like, well, try to pick up the baby or whatever. It's like, sometimes it's like, I've tried it 100 times. You were not here for the past 2 hours. You don't know the point that I'm at. For your safety, you need to, stop talking. And so I was trying to catch her eye and smile at her. I was going to offer to help if she needed help, but I had trouble catching her eye. And you guys know, I can't be a good Samaritan. That is not God's will for my life. If I were to go up to someone and like try to be nice to them, I mean, it's like I don't know, I'd misgender them. I would accidentally insult them. It would just be, it has been many times, such a train wreck when I just, okay, here's an example. I don't know if I've told you guys this. I don't think I have. That when I have this altruistic instinct of just saying like, I'd like to spread some kindness. I would like to spread some kindness today. There was this gal, maybe I did tell this one other time. I was at the Houston airport and there was this gal and she seemed friendly and I just wanted to compliment her and cause I'm going to spread kindness cause that's what I'm about. And, of course the instinct within me was like, stop, don't, you can't talk to people. Ever. You should be kept away from society. God doesn't want you to do. My guardian angel, God and all the heavenly host were screaming to stop. But I was like, no, what could go wrong? I'm just trying to compliment her. And I was like, that is a beautiful name. It's so unique. Like, I'm jealous. Like that's just so cool to have such a unique name. And she gave me kind of a strange look, and she was wearing hijab. If I had to guess, I'd say she might be from Iran. I'm not sure, but the point, it matters to the story that she didn't it didn't seem like she was just a native Houstonite who had been here for 7 generations. This matters to the story. And so I was like, oh, just that's a beautiful name. You have a unique name. And then I couldn't shut my mouth. I couldn't do it. I was like, let's just see how much of a train wreck we can make this. And I was like, Aya, why did I say it? I should learn to say less. Like if I have to quote unquote spread kindness, like just a real burst, like, psh, and then shut up. I was like, oh, Aya, that's a beautiful name. IAH. Need to get my ladies fan because now I'm laughing. IAH. I was like, Aya. What a beautiful name. Her actual name was something like Jonna. IAH is the Houston airport code that was on her name tag. So that is why you're like, Jen, you talk about village all the time. Why didn't you walk up to help the mom with the crying baby? Because of that. Because I can't tell you what would have been horrific about it, but something horrific would have happened. So like, I can't, it's not God's call on my life, but I did try to like smile at her to know that I am a friendly, person. So I'm sitting next to the podcast bros. There's two of them, again, like, real muscular, like alpha male kind of guys. They were livid. Like, I don't mean just a couple of like huff puff comments. They were like, she needs to get it under control. Like, what is going, this is okay, I won't quote them directly. This is BS. Like, and I think we might have been maybe barely out of earshot, but I mean, she could see if she glanced over, like she could see. They were so flustered by this, so flustered. It was, they would try to pull up like, oh, like we're trying to hear what David Goggins is telling us about being tough, but we can't hear because of a crying baby. They were so livid about it. I mean, really, it was like, it was bad. I don't mean that they were a little annoyed. They were livid. They were talking so much trash. They were like, you should get it together. Like, stop. And I wanted to be like, wow, all of that alpha male content that you guys have consumed, and it's all for nothing. It's all for nothing. Like, you guys have learned literally nothing about what true masculinity is about. If you are letting yourselves get so flustered about a crying baby. First of all, see, this is where I wish I were a more bold person, because it would have been great if I leaned over and was like, I am so sorry, your Bitcoin investments are not working out so that you guys can't afford noise canceling headphones. You know what, guys? I'm sensitive to noise too. I don't love being around loud noises. So you know what I do? When I am in airports or any form of public transportation, I bring noise canceling headphones so that I can be a village to women traveling with children. I don't have to be irritated because I have my noise canceling headphones in. And by the way, if I forgot them and I did find myself a bit rankled by the noise of the baby, that's on me, because I am out in a public space. And if we demand that public spaces are these perfectly peaceful places where babies never make a single sound, then essentially what you are saying is that women should never leave the house. You're saying that women should never leave the house who have young children. You are taking an entire category of people and saying that they should just be trapped in isolation so that you don't have to be disturbed in any way. And frankly, it doesn't end with women, because then you start to think, well, disabled people, I don't know, like, I hate it when I'm trying to get on my flight to go to the alpha male conference and someone with a wheelchair is in front of me and now I can't hustle. It's like, it doesn't end. Like, if everyone has to be an able-bodied alpha bro, it's like you're trying to create society around your comfort. And women always pay the first price for that. When society gets weird ideas that are not welcoming for children, I mean, let's face it, that is going to impact women more than anyone. If you have a little baby, it is most likely going to be with its mother. And so if we start to have unspoken policies of like, it is not acceptable in this culture to have a crying baby, it's basically saying that for the duration of a woman's life, where she has a child in the age range where they can't control their temper tantrums, then she gets to just sit in the house. And what if she has more than one kid? I mean, then she sits in the house forever. It's insane. But that is actually beside the point, because what really struck me was just how much modern alpha bro masculine, kind of like social media masculine culture misses the point. of what it means to be masculine. You know, there's that phrase, the strong are strong for the sake of the weak. And that, like, true masculinity is the men who went down with the Titanic so that the women and children could, you know, get on the lifeboats. True masculinity is being strong mentally and physically, but strong for what? That's what alpha bro content misses. They're like, you need to go to the gym. You need to stop being a little wimp and get out there and conquer the inner, how do I replace this language? You need to conquer the inner wimp and get to the gym. And so I'd like to have a roundtable discussion with these guys where I'm like, okay, that could be masculine behavior, but why? Why are we going to the gym? To get strong. Okay. Why do you want to be strong? Well, so I can, like, lift things and, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, see, that's where it goes off the rails. Because true masculinity, and by the way, femininity, it's same thing. I'm just talking about masculinity in this case, but both true masculinity and true femininity is ordered toward protection of the most vulnerable and building up the greater society, like the greater good of the culture that you're in, of your tribe, of your city, of your country, in a positive way. So why be strong? Well, you're strong, not just physically, but also mentally, for the sake of the weaker ones in your culture. That's masculinity. So imagine if these guys had understood what real masculinity is. If alpha bro online culture, you know, online alpha men had gotten it right, here's what that could have looked like. These guys definitely stood out at the gate area because they were pretty tall and they had big muscles. You know, they're probably about, 27, 30 years old. And so they definitely got attention in the gate area. They had an opportunity to use all of that inner strength that they have learned from their ice baths. I don't know that they took ice baths, but I know. You guys, I'm telling you, I'll get my face re-paralyzed again. If they don't take ice baths, we're just going to go with they do, because I know that they do. These guys are always like, I take ice baths. You know why I take ice baths? I take ice baths to learn to be uncomfortable. I mean, that's a big part. That is a big foundational thing in online alpha bro culture is, you know, I'm learning to do things that are uncomfortable and to accept pain and discomfort. Okay, where is all that when there's a crying baby at the airport? Where is your tolerance for pain and discomfort? Because, you know, what I'm noticing is, like, a lot of the women here who are not consuming alpha bro content, they're like, we're all able to move on with our lives one way or the other. But you guys are being so fussy. You are being so fussy about the sound of a crying baby. Like, what is all of the ice bathing and the doing one more rep, the power of one more, an extra rep at the gym? Like, what is it all for if you can't handle the sound of a crying baby? And so the way that they could have used all of that strength and that masculine energy for good in this case is they very easily could have been the kind of social leaders of that gate area. And, you know, this happens even in groups of people who don't know each other. A lot of times there are certain people that the other people around you will kind of key off of their behavior. Imagine if those guys had kind of, you know, sit up straight, like kind of get in leader mode and loudly, maybe intentionally, so that other people in the gate area could hear, so that they're setting the tone for the gate area. By the way, this is another truly masculine thing, is to be a leader in a self-sacrificial way, meaning they would be taking a social risk by doing what I'm about to suggest, but that's a masculine thing. Like, okay, it might be awkward. This might be a strange interaction, but I would like to help someone in need, and I would like to set the tone for this gate area. So I'm going to be a leader and just take this risk. So imagine if one of them had stood up and said, ma'am, it seems like you're having a hard day. Can I help you with anything? Do you want me to go get you a smoothie or anything for the kids, just let me know. My Bitcoin investments are, hey, I listen to David Goggins, like I'm hustling, I have money. But if he were just like, man, it seems like you're having a tough time. Is there anything, like, do you want me to get you anything? And I'm sure she would have said no or whatever. But if it were me, it'd be like a $100 bill. Right? But just that the idea behind it isn't so much that she would likely take them up on it, but that other people at the gate would hear it. These guys do seem like natural leaders. They're tall, strong men in the prime of their life, and they could have really set the tone. And I guarantee you, everybody would fall in line. Like, oh, okay, these are our leaders of Gate 28 here at the Austin airport. These are our leaders now. They have indicated to the group that this is okay and we're going to be chill with this. And now we're all just, going to stop our inner complaints about this baby crying. That could have been a really powerful thing. And that is an example of all of the same behavior that the Alpha Bro podcast guys talk about, the going to the gym, taking the ice bath, learning to do things that make you uncomfortable, put to good use. And you know what? So much of this content, this, how to be a real man, masculine man is missing. And frankly, same thing of so much of the female content of what it, the ideal woman. Oh, I'd love to be like her. Oh, this one travel influencer and her skincare routine and, and learning to be in her soft life and her feminine side and all that. So much of this is like directed toward kind of nothing. I mean, I've talked to some of these guys in green rooms. I'm buddies with some of them. And again, I like them, but it's like, okay, so you're going to the gym all the time, like, and you're hustling and you're doing Bitcoin. Like, okay, wait, why? Like, oh, so I can get money. So I'm going to have money and strength and, okay. And I'll be like, okay, Chad, like, what, why, but okay. But why do you want money? So I can travel and I can, like build a business. Okay. But what, like, and then what does that do? What is the end? Like, what's the end result of, okay, you build a business or like you travel and they're like, but it ends there. They're like, well, I don't know. I just like build a business. Like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. And this is how people end up having midlife crises. Because one day, you're not 28 anymore, like you're 45 and okay, you have the business and you've traveled and you're like, man, this is not feeling right. This is like something's off. And what's missing there is with true masculinity and true femininity, it should always be ordered toward creation as opposed to being ordered toward consumerism. It's funny, Instagram shows me a lot of alpha male content. Like, I guess I do kind of have that brain a little bit. And so much of it is like, you got to go to the gym and take your ice bath so that you can build a business. And so that's the narration. But the pictures are having 3 Lamborghinis and 3 different colors and a mansion and a beautiful woman. And, oh, you guys are in Greece and now you're in Italy. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's, great. We all need to go like take some selfies, I don't know, in foreign countries, I guess. But that's all being in consumer mode, buying the car, going to Greece. And again, it's part of a healthy, balanced life to sometimes be in consumer mode. That's great. We need to consume the things that other people are creating. But our silly culture it's telling all these young men and young women that that's like the point of being a certain type of woman, a feminine woman, or that's the point of being a masculine man is to consume more. Like a lot of the soft life feminine content is really ordered towards, I mean, it's kind of like, look, ladies, marry a rich man so that you can buy a lot of Sephora products and use them in your mansion. I mean, and it really is kind of like, it sort of ends there. The thinking is like, you can just consume in some really great ways if you tap into your feminine energy. But true feminine energy that is like really what we're meant to be part of, like of God. And same thing with masculine. It's ordered toward creation. The most obvious example would be creating a family, not just a family, but a great family, or just creating a safe space, for like if, I don't know, like maybe if you're an alpha guy with lots of money, maybe you could start a charity or donate to a charity that helps foster kids, that helps people who didn't have that positive role model in their life. Or, obviously with women, like nurturing children, being that feminine presence. Like it's all about building. It's all about creating. Like one time I talked to Tom Monahan. He's the guy who founded Domino's, and it's really sweet to hear him talk about how much his hustle and his drive to create Domino's from nothing. I mean, he created Domino's from nothing. It was such a heart-led approach. He's a devout Catholic, and he really lit up when he talked about how many families he was able to provide a stable job and an income for by starting this big business. It was really so moving. It was really so sweet to hear him talk about this. And by the way, he was raised in like an orphanage. He had a really rough background. But when someone was talking to him like, wow, Tom, I mean, you created one of the biggest countries, one of the biggest companies in America. This is incredible. Oh, and this person was kind of going the alpha bro mentality direction of like, you must have so many Lamborghinis and a mansion and speedboats and a yacht. And all he wanted to talk about, he's like, I just thought about how many families had a stable job and a nice place to work and a good income because of my hard work. And it was just so great. He didn't say one word about the size of his house or his cars, or like, I mean, I was part of a conversation with him for quite a while. I don't know. Maybe he might take Ubers. Like, I don't know if he has a car. Because he didn't want to talk about any of it. And that's what real masculinity looks like. He busted but he hustled harder than any alpha man on social media talking about his ice baths and hustle culture. Tom Monahan hustled harder than all of these guys put together. And I think one of the reasons it worked so well is his driving force wasn't the fancy cars and the trips to Europe and the mansion. His driving force wasn't consumerism. His driving force was creation. He was thinking, I'd love to create jobs, to give some families some incomes, to maybe keep some kids out of the situation that I grew up in, living in an orphanage. Like, I'd love to create this expanded economy and just more opportunities and food that makes people happy. And that is what true masculinity and what hustle culture done right looks like. And again, you can give equal examples on the feminine side. Like, it's not just about living in a mansion and ordering Sephora products, ladies. It's about using that. Like, if you want to go the soft life route with femininity, okay, but for what? Like, who are you sharing the softness with? How are you creating love in the world through this soft feminine energy? It's not about your skincare routine. That is not the end. It can be part of a good life, but it's not the end. So that's, I seriously wanted to start a GoFundMe for these alpha men who were so wound up about this crying baby. Like, please, hey, can everyone here at Gate 28, can we all please, I'm going to pass around a hat. These men are poor. Their Bitcoin has not worked out well. They're evidently very poor. They don't have noise canceling headphones. You can get some on Amazon for $50. There are two of these guys. So I'm going to need $100. I'd like to pass around the hat because these guys are having a real hard time with this baby. And I hope they think about that next time they're at the gym, next time they're in their ice bath, like, I'm learning to accept discomfort. Like, how about maybe just accept people who are causing you inconvenience in the airport? Like, how about that? By the way, I'm not great at that other than with babies, but I don't take ice baths either, so I never said that I was that I was great at that sort of thing. But I think that is my biggest critique of the online masculine and online feminine culture, that it's ordered towards consumerism, and it should be ordered toward creation. Okay, so the main topic that we'll get to in a minute is trying to see, where are we on time, Caitlin?
We're at 40.
Oh yeah, okay. Then all right. I'm gonna skip this one thing and just go to putting yourself out there. You worry that you will be rejected, that people will think you're different, you're doing it wrong, that you'll be cringe. As I said earlier, there's no way to avoid that. But let me just give you some of my credentials to talk about this. As someone who I'm just not normal. And sometimes like it gets to me. We were talking about that in the last episode, like how not like other people I am. Sometimes that like it actually, I'm like, I would love to be more of a normal person. And there's like, I have a lot of inner conflict about that. Like actually, Caitlin, play the video of the chaotic friend. Like there's a part of me that is like this. This is I forget the name of this gal's account. I'll look it up while Caitlin plays it.
What up? Come on in. That pile right there is clean if you want to borrow anything.
Pause it, Caitlin.
There's no such thing.
So this is girls getting ready to go out. This chaotic friend is sitting on the sink. There's a pile of clothes, chaos everywhere, bowls in the bathroom. And yeah, just listen carefully to some of the things she says. This is so relatable to me.
It's too much glitter. You know that quote? I think like Obama said it. Bitches at my leisure. It should work at the bars tonight, right?
Where's your ID?
That is a great question. Ooh, cheese it. Can you hand me those scissors right there? I'm gonna cut my hair before we leave. If you need blush, I have a ton at the bottom of this bag that broke. Do you think if I DM'd T-Pain, he would come to my birthday party? Probably, right? Do you have any lip plumper?
No.
Oh, okay. I think I have some hot sauce in here somewhere. One second. All of my cups are in my car right now. My car's currently parked at the Gelson's on Riverside, so we're gonna have to use bowls. Here you go. God, there's bronzer in there. I wonder how much bronzer I've eaten over the past decade. Probably like a pound or something.
Okay, this is Paige A. Gallagher on Instagram, and I very much have this side of me, but it's not like really who I am at heart. It is my severe untreated ADHD. Because like if I just have 40 milligrams of Adderall, I am like, play the influencer Get Ready With Me video. Hopefully there's no copyright. Okay, oh, it's ASMR. Good. Okay, so that she's putting her little, I don't know, it's like a lacy tank top on. Okay, now she's opening a bag. She's doing her skincare routine. The point is, you can look this up on YouTube, jfonyoutube.com. The point is that this is me on Adderall. Like I've tried it in the past. It's not for me. I can't do it. But like if I am medicated, I'm this. Look, everything's clean. Everything's fine. And I am so frustrated that I am the chaotic friend. I'm so frustrated. I'm making a note here. So here's an example of how like I get so frustrated that I'm so like I've got that inner chaotic friend, but I have a lot of tension. This goes back to nervous system dysregulation because I feel like my highest self is more like organized, on the ball, type A, but because of my ADHD, I have a lot of that chaotic friend side, and I hate it, and it causes me a lot of tension. But I never realized how not right my brain is than when I am talking to stylists. I've had a couple conversations with stylists over the years. It is important for my line of work that you look a certain way, and it doesn't have to be looking good. Like for comedy, it just has to be you should look like the kind of person who is going to say what you're about to say. Like, for example, if a lot of your comedy set is about, eating fast food, the prices at McDonald's, that kind of thing. If you are wearing a tuxedo and have perfectly coiffed hair and like a Rolex on, it's just not going to land. It's going to be like, I don't believe this guy cares about the prices at McDonald's. So I have consulted with stylists a couple of times. I really can't tell you how badly it went. And we all walked away deciding that I'm a troubled person and the professional that I need is not a stylist. It's someone with some more letters after their names that has, probably the state could offer me some social services to get help with this. I so want to share this with you guys that I'm going to have Caitlin play stylist. This is a summary of actual conversations that I have had with stylists. So she's just going to ask me some simple questions.
Okay. I found these great shoes. Super fun.
No. I wear size 12. I wear size 12. And even if you could get them in size 12, they will look like clown shoes on me. Like, we need to just give up on shoes. Like, don't talk to me about shoes because you won't be able to find anything in my size. And if you do find it in my size, it will look like a complete monstrosity. And like the other day I got some shoes, but then they had kind of a high heel and I was taking pictures with people after a show. And it just looked like I had like a human growth hormone problem because I was so much taller than them. And then they felt weird about it. So let's just skip shoes.
All right. Well, what about the sleeveless number?
No, I don't wear sleeveless. I don't just really believe in it. It's like I have this weird, like, natural modest streak. Like, I do fine under Sharia law. But by the way, hang on, guys. I am going on these tangents with the stylist because to me this is how normal people speak. Okay, so I'm like, yeah, I would probably do fine under Sharia law because I don't really show skin. Also, my arms are really long. Like, you don't like. I mean, this is crazy how long my arms are. And so when I wear sleeveless, it's like a condor's wings. Like, it's crazy. I just feel so uncomfortable. And I have like flabby skin. I think it's an Irish thing. And I haven't done 23andMe, but I just know I have a lot of Irish heritage. And so I think it's like we Irish have like some flabby skin. You guys, I'm saying all of this to a stylist. So yeah, you've never seen me in sleeveless and you never will. Okay.
All right. Well, what about these pants?
No, stop with it. No, I have a 37-inch inseam, and don't tell me this brand runs long. I'm triggered now. I'm upset because people are this brand run. Yeah, they're long. The brand that runs long. It's a 33-inch inseam. Stop. It's going to be high waters on me. There are only 2 places that I can buy pants that are long enough. It's a very upsetting subject to me. So move on.
Okay, what about these pants?
Oh, those. Okay, from the tall store. They don't have pockets, and I can't wear things that don't have pockets because like a lot of times I'll have a piece of paper, like a pen or like my ear. Actually right now, literally right now, look, I've got like some earrings and some jewelry in my pocket. You never know. You never look, these earrings right here in my pocket. And I just, or like a compact or some pressed powder. Like, I don't know how people live without pockets. Cause like if I put something in a bag, then I'll lose the bag. So no, it has to be like attached to my person for me not to lose things.
Oh, okay. Well, what about this flowy maxi dress?
No. Are you kidding? Because it makes me feel, it's like flowy dresses are like it has a woodland fairy vibe, and I don't identify as a woodland fairy. And then the other thing, guys, this is totally true. I have such a problem. I don't like to wear flowy material because if there were to be an emergency where, like, let's say I had to, like, I'm on a plane and I had to, crawl out the emergency exit 'cause, like, I'm on Delta and the plane's upside down or like whatever. I don't want flowy material that could be getting caught on things, or like if I have to crawl out of a window in a fire and that my maxi dress is like stuck on the chair and like now I can't get out. I'm like, it's a fire. And I know, and you're asking like, has this ever happened? Wow. Like, have you ever had to? No, but it could happen. And that flowy material could prevent me from exiting, like in the case of an emergency. Guys, I'm dead serious about this. Like, I wish I were making this up. Okay. Yes, thank you, stylist Caitlin. What's your next question?
What about this dress?
Okay, so I should say I can't wear any dresses really because they give me sensory issues. When I wear dresses, I feel like I am wearing pajamas. But what's funny is I can't even wear pajamas that are dresses. I have to wear pants. There is something about, I don't like to feel the skin on my legs like touching each other. Can you believe I wasn't diagnosed with autism as a child? I have sensory issues, and I feel I can be in a literal ball gown. You could put actual diamonds on the ball gown. I would feel like I was wearing pajamas if I wore a dress. It really, like, major sensory, like it drives me crazy. Oh, the other thing is, and I'm so glad you asked, stylist, and why do you have that look on your face? So why are you backing away slowly? No, the other thing is, one of the biggest reasons that I was bullied in my horrible junior high was because my legs are so pale. That was like a big thing. It looks like I am wearing white tights when I just, expose my legs to the unsuspecting public. It's like a blinding situation. You need protective eyewear to look directly at my legs. So I always have to wear beige tights. And you're like, why don't you just, use self-tanner? Well, because it looks splotchy, and then it looks like I have a skin disease because my skin is that pale that it doesn't really come across well. So I always have to wear hose, but a lot of times, like if it's hot outside, I live in Texas, like you can't, it just doesn't make sense to wear hose if it's like a summer day. So I think we should just take dresses off the list along with pants and shoes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, how about these drawstring loose pants?
An interesting thing about the genetics of my family, I'm glad you brought this up. Do you feel like I'm not paying you enough? And interesting is all of the women on my mom's side of the family, we have like we never have flat stomachs. Like when I was in high school, I hit a weight that is, there's probably some anorexia going on. Definitely it was in that range, and I still had like a pooch, stomach. Like we don't have flat stomachs. And so when I wear things with a drawstring waist, first of all, again, they're high waters. So it's like high waters, but with a fat stomach. And it's like, I'm not even fat. My stomach just looks fat because I have like the, the pooch. It's just a lot of bulk around my hips that, because I actually have a short waist because all of my height is in my legs. And so I can't, we need to take attention away from the waist, which I know brings you back to dresses, but again, sensory issues. So, okay, go ahead.
Well, you could put your hair in this updo.
Okay, so that's interesting that you bring that up. Okay, I can't wear my hair in an updo because as part of my perfect childhood, again, my mom listens to this podcast. One of the things I think that helped make my childhood extra perfect is that my parents were convinced that my ears are like just in real bad shape. JF on youtube.com. I'm showing my ears, which I never do. Have you ever seen my ears? Probably not. You're about to hear why. My parents were like, man, your ears are like, we're sorry. We don't know what happened. So they actually had me go to a consultation with a top plastic surgeon, like he lived in Houston and came to Austin just for to get the clients there. But he was like, that is how, like, we wouldn't even go to anyone local because my ears were like that bad that we needed the best. And I actually ran into a somewhat well-known beauty queen in his office. So that was interesting. She was lovely. I had a great conversation with her. We did not go through with the surgery. I forget why, but that would, like, my parents thought my ears were such a problem that they scheduled. I was like, maybe it's fine. They're like, it's not. We need this appointment. So because of that, I have a little bit of issues surrounding my ears. Just parents being like, they're so messed up. And again, it's just part of my perfect childhood. I loved it. I think it's great. I think they should have pointed out more flaws and taken me to more plastic surgeons. But because my parents were so concerned about the huge problem that is my ears, I have never and will never wear my hair in an updo.
Oh. All right. Well, how about this blazer?
Sleeves are too short. See, in every, like I'm wearing a jacket right now. When I outstretch my arm, this is a full length jacket, jfonyoutube.com. This is a full length jacket. And you see the end of the sleeve is about halfway between my elbow and my wrist. So stylist, thank you. I think we've had a good conversation. So what would you recommend that I wear based on that? I just gave you a couple of preferences. What would you recommend?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, right. You're like, wow. Yeah. I mean, you guys should leave a comment on YouTube. I mean, I'm actually kind of serious. Like, what would you recommend that I wear? And so that, here's the thing. That conversation feels very normal to me, to talk about the genetic history of your people. Like, I haven't done 23andMe, but I think this, and this is why I can't wear pants. Like, that feels very, like, to me, that's how people should talk. But based on the body language of people, when I have these conversations, I feel like they interpret that like they're like, not every client is like this. I feel like that's the message that I am getting from the stylists. And I feel like they're not too sad when it doesn't work out if we like continue to work together. I was working for a while. There's a great stylist. You should look her up on social media, Peyton Dale. She's so good. And I really wanted to work with her, but it's like, I'm too crazy. I mean, like everything she suggested was like this entire, dramatic narrative of like the whole history of my life and like how, and this is my unresolved trauma. And I'm working on regulating my nervous system, but I just don't think that I can wear dresses. And I think like Peyton and I get along really well. Like we're still buds, but I think she was maybe like, some people need inpatient psychiatric treatment, not a stylist. So all that is to say, as we head in here smoothly, just seamlessly transition into the main topic, I do have some experience with putting yourself out there and not having people receive it the way you meant for them to receive it. And before we go into that, I've been talking about things similar to this on the Village Hustle Patreon. It's the higher level Patreon. You get instant access to recent content, all the archives, and my state of the dumpster fire archives of my live addresses. Patreon.com/thisisjen is where you sign up and you get instant access when you join. So, when you put yourself out there in any way, when you were trying to create anything, you are definitely going to encounter people who have a negative reaction to it. And the reason for that is not that you're doing something so wrong. It's that people, they tend to feel very inferior when they see someone else fearlessly creating. Like I said at the beginning, especially if you've had some obstacles. Maybe you had a video taken down. Let's say you're trying to be a content creator. You had a video get taken down, or one video went viral for the wrong reasons. And, people were saying that this is an off base point and you're wrong. And it was frustrating. And like you kept doing it. Honestly, that's how you can really get some haters, because the ability to continue creating in the way that you're meant to create right now in this time and place in your life is a really powerful and beautiful thing. And it is going to trigger jealousy in people who gave up on their own attempts at creation. And you will become a living testament to the fact that a lot of their excuses that they have used to hold themselves back are just not true. Like I'm thinking of a gal I know. She's really good at domestic stuff. She's good. But she's also really laid back. It's just easy for her. It's just easy. It's just, her house is in pretty good shape, but she's pretty laid back. She doesn't check all of the perfect boxes that maybe the influencers would say you should check. And she's in the Catholic world. And so there are also, in the Catholic ghetto, there are also additional boxes that the perfect Catholic mother should be checking. And she checks some of those, but not all of them. And she's unbothered. She is unbothered. She's living her best life. She's having a good time. She's pretty laid back. Her house isn't perfect. Nothing is perfect, but she's having a good time. So she was telling me, she has a sister-in-law, and this is what I was thinking of earlier when I was giving the example of the sister-in-law who's like, oh, well, that's one way to parent. Oh, using formula? Wow. Okay. Well, if you don't want your children to survive, like that's fine. That's just totally fine. And her sister-in-law is always doing that. Just always has a comment about the ways that my friend is supposedly not measuring up and not getting it done. And I've never met the sister-in-law, so I don't know. But my guess, we're going to go deep on this one, actually. Yeah. My guess is that this sister has some unresolved trauma, just those stressors. Like even if she didn't have a terrible background, just stressful things that happened as she was growing up that just didn't get resolved. And as an attempt to keep herself from feeling feelings that she really needs to keep buried because she doesn't want to go there. And for whatever reason in her mind, these feelings are forbidden. If she, again, I'm totally making this up because I never met the sister-in-law, but let's say that she had like a deep rage for her father, but her father was like a nice guy who was always a pretty good dad and worked 2 jobs to provide for the family. So she might categorize that as like forbidden. Like, I can't resent my father for like a couple times when he used unkind words because like the guy worked 2 jobs. Like, come on. Like, but by not letting that kind of thing out and just not letting it be there and just get out and flow through you and, be done with it, by suppressing it, you end up with a, what I'm going to say, dysregulated nervous system. And you end up either with chronic pain or all of this obsessive kind of behavior. And you know what it all is? It is all, in these kinds of cases, it is all an attempt to keep those unthinkable emotions buried because like they're forbidden. You just can't, you're not allowed to think that. You're not allowed to feel anger for that one person. Like good Catholic women don't feel anger for those people in their life. Good Catholic women could never open up a journal and be like, F this person, F this, I'm effing like my boss, like F this. Like, no, ladies of grace, a Proverbs 31 woman would never do that. And so what happens, Nicole Sachs has a great analogy where she talks about how imagine if you were trying to keep a beach ball underwater. The beach ball in this case represents the emotions that are forbidden, that like a good, but for my male listeners, I have many, if the stuff that is forbidden for you to feel, like, for example, maybe you're a good man providing for your wife and kids, but there are some emotions within you of like, I wish she would get a job, like it doesn't mean that you logically think that your wife should get a job. It doesn't mean that you the highest version of yourself thinks that, but you could have some pent up resentment. And if you don't let those emotions out, it's like holding a beach ball underwater. Can you ever relax if you are trying to keep a fully inflated beach ball underwater? No. Can you ever let your guard down? No, because it'll rise to the surface. And all of that suppressed stuff is you've got to be constantly on your game to keep it suppressed. So again, your body could take an old college injury and just make it hurt like crazy, make it just hurt like heck, like crazy, to just keep you thinking about that and not about the forbidden emotions that you are not allowed to feel. So in the case of this sister-in-law, based on how she was described to me, I think that gal was really fussing over a lot of the details of motherhood and getting very obsessive about them, meaning like in her mind, and this was true that my friend was saying that like if she didn't breastfeed every child until they were 2.5 years old, I don't know why the half was so significant, but evidently it was, like, then she is, I mean, just not a good mother, like just not at all a good mother if she didn't make it to the fully 2.5 year mark. And if she ever fed her children gluten, and there were no gluten allergies in the family, she just like, if any gluten ever passed their lips, if her floors weren't clean every single day, if the house wasn't in this kind of order, if the throw pillows weren't on the couch the right way, and she really, really fixated on this, and then also turn that fixation to other people. Lots of judgment about like, oh, did you hear so-and-so only breastfed her child to 18 months? Like really up in other people's business, judging them. This is all an attempt to keep the beach ball underwater. I think, Dr. Jen, that's what I think. That's what Nicole Sachs thinks too. I've stalked Nicole Sachs content so much at this point. Like I can speak for Nicole Sachs, but I really think in this gal's case, that's why she was all up in my friend's face about with judgment, because this woman has some stuff that she really doesn't want to feel. And she keeps herself very obsessed and busy with the minutia of parenthood and following the quote unquote rules in a spirit of fight or flight. Like I have to cut the sandwiches a certain way or else I am not a good mother. You know, there is a way to do these things out of love, to breastfeed your kids for a long time out of love. Let me make it clear. I'm not saying that everyone who does these things it's all about suppressing emotions. There are ways to do this out of just love. Like it just feels like a good thing to do. It feels right. I just love my family. This is working for me. All of these things can be done out of love. But from everything I heard about this sister-in-law, this was out of manic fight or flight, trying to distract herself from whatever it is that she's trying not to feel. So to take it back to the main topic of how the haters come out of the woodwork, when you are using your blue flame, when you are creating in the way that you were meant to create, usually that it's a sign of a certain like freedom and flow, because you have to have a certain amount of just peace and like regulated nervous system, and you know you have to have a certain amount of just peace and comfort with yourself in order to be able to create in love the way you were meant to create. And so you will become a lightning rod for the people who are not able to do that because they're so busy not feeling their repressed feelings. And see, and by the way, this is what this podcast is, by the way. Hit the how is this podcast free? And this goes back to like, why am I so weird? Why can't I have normal takes on it, on anything? I don't know. This is way deeper and more analytical than like any podcast you would hear about. Why do I have haters when I create? Like, oh, because they're jealous. Like, no, we have to go into like, you know, their layers and their suppressed emotion. But I do think it's true. And so I want to give you a pep talk that whatever thing it is that you're thinking about doing to put yourself out there, you probably will have some mixed motives. I mean, you won't really know for sure whether you're doing this out of pure love or maybe there's a little bit of vanity in there or whatever. You'll have mixed motives. You'll wonder if this is definitely the right call for you. You'll wonder if this is what you're supposed to be doing with your time. Is there something better you should be doing with your time? Does this make you a bad parent? Does it make you a good parent? All of those questions are part of the creation process. They're part of like finding your blue flame, creating a family, whatever it is you're trying to do. All of those questions are part of the process. And then of course there's also the fear of the haters, you know, like coming after you. And I'll say the only way to answer those questions, get past the haters, get used to the haters, and just kind of move on is to do it and keep doing it. And then you'll see after let's say you're trying to write a novel. After you try it, like let's say you commit to, I'll write at least 10 chapters. Like I'm not going to quit until I've written 10 chapters, even if this turns out to be the wrong thing to do. I'll cut bait after 10 chapters, but I won't stop until then. And when you just make those kind of commitments and push through, well, you learn as you go. You might realize, okay, when I first started doing this, I was ignoring my family a little too much. Looking back, okay, that was, maybe it shouldn't have been 10 hours of Netflix that one day. and so you can make those adjustments as you go on. But the key part of it is you got to do it, and you've got to push through the pain points, and you have to stack up those mini accomplishments, because if you don't, then you end up like the haters who were like, well, I just, it was just too hard. You can't write a novel, if you have a kid, it's just impossible. And then you end up resenting the people who did push past those blocks. So don't let fear hold you back. Don't let worries hold you back. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the process of putting yourself out there. You will never have complete certainty, and you'll dang sure never do it without some people cropping up to yap about it. But just keep putting yourself out there, because ultimately, like, that's what life is all about. It's what life is all about, is creating things, creating the unique things out of a spirit of love that you and you alone were put on this earth to create. Another fine episode. Don't forget to come see me in my upcoming shows next week. Next week, we have Philly, Richmond, and Virginia Beach. Filming the special in Denver after that. Plano, Tyler, Columbus, New York City. You can get your tickets at jfcomedytour.com. And I will be back with you next week.